WrestleMania week. We are officially here, just a few days away from WrestleMania 42, a card of 13 matches. Last year was 14, the year before was 13, but turned into 14 with the Damian Priest cash-in. So right around the average we're used to with these two-night WrestleManias. And the first thing I kind of want, I know we've talked about this briefly and in different ways, but I want to say, I don't think this is going to be kind of weird and unpopular, and it's kind of obviously WWE has been mentioning it a lot as of late. I know obviously WWE is struggling this year when it comes to attendance for WrestleMania. And I want to just say, while ticket prices are definitely, something, I don't think that they're struggling with attendance mostly because of ticket prices. I want to say that is definitely secondary. I think for sure returning to the same place for a second year in a row is the majority of the reason why they're struggling with this. I think the problem is if you return to like MetLife Stadium or Philadelphia, that's a huge area of people that are traveling via car and live in those areas. Las Vegas, while great big population and it's growing every day, it's a destination. It's a place where a lot of people are coming from outside. Outside of Las Vegas, it's a desert, right? So a lot of people are having to come from out and about to get to Las Vegas. And again, with being in Las Vegas last year, having to get those people to have to fly in, or maybe if they live in California, make like the 4 or 5 hour drive to Las Vegas is a little bit harder than trying to maybe run two venues in a row, like in New York City or in Chicago, in a place where the population's a little more condensed, so you can draw from different areas. I think if they were in New Orleans this upcoming year, and it's crazy to think because WrestleMania would have been last week if it was in New Orleans, I don't think they would be struggling with attendance. What do you think about that, Brandon? Would you think they'd still be struggling, let's say, with the same prices for tickets?
Yeah, I really do think it is the prices. I think tourism as a whole is down right now. I think, not to go down the rabbit hole of politics and things like that, but there's a lot of things going on that, people are, they're pinching pennies more often right now with the current climate, with the economy, and the pricing of the tickets to me is in the forefront for me personally. I feel like they've been too high, and that's why they did that whole thing with Saturday night only. 25%
yeah, they've been doing
off.
that though. It's funny because 25% off actually isn't even as good as they were doing. If you remember Austin 316 Day, 31.6% off. That was even a higher percentage.
That's what I mean.
I guess my thing is, as somebody who went last year and as somebody who is going this year, I've been. I can't help. Even if I have tickets, I like to look at the prices. I like to know, for example, this year, how much I've gotten screwed by deciding to buy tickets when they went on sale. Horrible mistake to do that. I can tell you, I bought tickets when they went on sale this year because I didn't want to get screwed in the sense of last year, ticket prices were a lot higher. They never got lower, maybe the day of and things like that. But essentially, they never really got lower leading up to WrestleMania because this wasn't a problem. And this year, ticket prices are, I think, much lower. Now, granted, maybe it was a little bit later down the line where it's too late for people to plan a vacation to go to WrestleMania because the ticket prices got lower, too late in the game. But I remember last year, I jumped on some tickets last year that I bought for around $300. And I remember when I bought them, after I had purchased them, because I was looking at tickets and everything started at $1,000 for a 2-night combo. Everything started at $1,000. Then all of a sudden, some tickets popped up for a few hundred. And I bought those and they were gone as soon as I got them within seconds. And then literally I watched ticket prices all the way up until pretty much a week before Mania. And you couldn't get in for like less than, I think maybe they dropped to like 800 for a combo, right? For a combo was like 800, but the Ticketmaster tickets were still 1,000 for everything. I mean, we're talking, that's the get in, the $1,000. And this year, obviously, I jumped on a little bit higher than that because I thought, well, the tickets overall, what is 1,200 going to be the new get in? And as of today, obviously on the secondary market too, as of today on the secondary market, $250 gets you a combo ticket to get in. For the cheapest ticket. That's $125 a night. WWE themselves is selling, I think, about $175 per night. So that's close to maybe like $300 to get in.
That's reasonable. That is very reasonable.
Yes. I mean, I spent much more than that.
I know you did. We talked about it
back when, and so probably double that per night to get in. And so I will say, just based on that, like, lower level seats last year, you can buy a combo for lower level seats this year for, I think, like $529. I saw the lowest price. And you couldn't get a lower level combo for five. Like that's 250 a night. You couldn't get 250 a night to sit down low last year at all. Like I said, $1,000. And yeah, maybe it's a little late in the game to be doing this. I mean, they started to do it right around Christmas time. They started to lower it. I mean, I don't know how if it got to this level. But I do think the tickets are more affordable. They're probably similar now as they were maybe around Philadelphia for WrestleMania 40.
It's also not the biggest draw as it comes to like the matches, everything like the aura.
I mean, I think the card this year is better. I know we're going to get into that a little bit, but I think the card this year is better than last year.
It's a different aura. I think last year it was like a big thing with obviously all the stuff going on with The Rock and Roman Reigns. Like there was
and John Cena, yeah.
It was in John Cena, like
and being in Vegas for the first time, and obviously WWE was in the midst of literally talking about every single show is going to blow the next show out of the water, and
that's not happening.
And I think now they've come to the point where people are starting. Wrestling goes through ebbs and flows, right? I mean, the Attitude Era bled right into the Ruthless Aggression Era, which, I mean, I went to wrestling shows during the Ruthless Aggression Era for $15, and sat down low for some of those Raws and SmackDowns. So, I'm not saying it's going to ever, or it's going to go down to that price or anything like that. But yeah, I just think, wrestling one, it's different than these other things like that don't come around as often. The Taylor Swift ticket prices where they are because she's not on tour right now, and she wasn't on tour last year. It's not a all the year round. Like she's not coming back to London for a third and fourth time and things like that. Like that was a big deal. They sold a lot of tickets. It cost a lot of money, but then she takes a break from touring. WWE doesn't do that. And I don't think TKO understands. You put on a show every single week. You come to New York and Chicago and Boston week after week.
The problem is though, you shouldn't be doing it in the same spot back-to-back years. Like
no, that's I think the big one for this one. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, let's be honest. Like I feel like if I were to do it, it would be kind of like maybe you do it in 5 different kind of regions, so to speak, where you have like the Northeast, the Southeast, maybe like the Northwest, the Southwest, and then somewhere kind of in the middle, like a St. Louis kind of area. Like to me, if you spread it out and you go to these destinations, like there's going to be people out there that are like, oh, cool, they're going to be going to Seattle. I've never been to Seattle. That would be fun.
Yeah, I mean, I'm one of those people who'd rather be going. I've been to New Orleans, but I've been to Las Vegas more recently. And also, too, yeah, you talk about regions, people who live in those regions, maybe not live directly in those cities, but like Philadelphia, you get the Northeast. Florida, you get the Southeast, things like that. Yeah. It's not just going to the same city, but you're going for a 2-night stadium show. That's the issue. If you're going to T-Mobile Arena for a second year in a row, 20,000 people, that's not tough to get. Madison Square Garden, that's not tough to get. But trying to get a stadium show in the same location, it'd be like if SummerSlam was going back to MetLife this year. And I think they'd even have a better chance at that because, again, New York City, bigger area, more to draw from. But that is the tough thing to do. And that's why I think even with ticket prices, if they were, reasonable, if they were similar, maybe not as high as last year or just a little bit lower or still pretty high in comparison, I think New Orleans wouldn't have the problem that they are having right now. I think it would be a much better product. And personally, I can tell you as somebody who's going to Las Vegas, I've been to Las Vegas many times now. This is my 5th or 6th trip to Las Vegas overall. I will say I'm disappointed. One thing is, they're not always doing construction, but construction and new stuff happens a lot. And the problem here is there are some things they're building in Las Vegas that they were building last year that me going again this year, they're still building. So there isn't really anything new for me to see, right? The Hard Rock Casino, which has got the big guitar-shaped hotel that took over the Mirage, still under construction. The Las Vegas A's baseball stadium, still under construction. There's this Boulevard shops, still under construction, which were under construction last year. So if there was a gap in there where I come back maybe 2-3 years down the line, I'm coming back to a place where there's something new to see. It's the same as going to Disney World or any of these other places where you take a few years off and you come back and boy, there's a new ride, there's a new hotel, there's something new to check out. So there isn't really anything new to check out because it's only 12 months after the last one. Yeah. So that's disappointing. Also, too, personally, from a standpoint, I mean, Las Vegas is a good place to go, but a lot of people are going to say you're insane. I've gone 4 or 5 times during the summertime. And Las Vegas is known as a place why they have to have roofs on the stadiums, right? Why the baseball teams have to play at nighttime if they play outdoors because 100 degrees, 110 degrees, 120 degrees Fahrenheit around the clock. That's what they get in the summertime.
Yes.
Right now, though, in the springtime, because the cloud coverage and being in the desert, it's not like that. And it's a place that is notorious for being just like if you go to Disney World or Florida, to be on vacation and to soak up the sun and play in the pool and do all that stuff. The temperature, the time I'm going to be there, is not going to be any greater than the temperature it is here in Syracuse, New York, where we're recording. 66 for a high, I think, on one day of WrestleMania, 71 for a high of another day.
So right now, according to the weather, like the different weather apps here, Saturday 74, Sunday 82. That's not bad at all.
I mean, well, here's the thing. So I saw other ones where it said high of like 66. At nighttime and in the morning, if you do hour by hour, we're talking like 10 o'clock in the morning. Some days it's like 56 degrees. Like, what's nice is if you go in the summer, it's 100 around. And I know people are going to say that sounds horrible, but it's nice because then you can go to the pool in the morning, you can go to the pool in the afternoon, you can go to the pool in the evening, you do all this stuff. And that's the thing.
Fun fact. Here's a fun fact. Right now in Las Vegas, it is 70 degrees. Where I'm located and where you're located, Central New York, is 69 degrees. How crazy is that?
Yeah. That's not really pool weather, right? And Las Vegas is one of those places where wherever you stay is going to be just like Disney World, I guess. You're picking your hotel to stay at if you're staying on the Strip based on who's got the best pool, who's got the coolest kind of. And one of the things WrestleMania is even doing, and they do every year, they got these day clubs. They're doing the Gronk after WrestleMania party. So Gronk is hosting a party. It's got Tiffany Stratton. It's got a couple other WWE superstars. It's one of those you pay an enormous amount of money to be close to Tiffany Stratton and Rob Gronkowski. That takes place at a pool club. I don't know about you, but at nighttime when the sun goes down, it's going to definitely be in the 60s. I'm not getting in a pool in 60-degree weather.
Why not? You don't want to hang out with Gronk?
I mean, I'll hang out with him fully clothed, that kind of thing. But it's one of those places that's notorious for people to like be spending all day in a pool. And I'll tell you what, spending more time in a pool means spending less time in the casino. So it's a trade-off, because money, right, at the slot machines and the tables. So the less time you can spend at a slot machine and have something free to do, like the pool, which you're paying for because it's part of your fee of staying at the hotel, right? The pool, the fitness center, all that is part of your resort, charge. So to not go in a pool, which I did not go in a pool last year when I was there, because part of that reason, on top of not just the weather, but the weather gets the hottest at 2 in the afternoon. And I don't know if you know this, Saturday and Sunday. What's going on at 2 in the afternoon? WrestleMania is on at 2 in the afternoon. I'm not a huge fan of WrestleMania at 2 in the afternoon myself. I'm more of a nighttime person. Don't really want to watch WrestleMania in between meals.
So when is the pre-show actually starting then? Is it 5?
You're
like
talking
5
on
Eastern. 5 Eastern. I'm sorry.
I'm guessing they're probably doing a 2 or 3 hour pre-show. That's what they do. I know they've been doing like 2 hours.
It'll be like lunchtime for you there.
I mean, I'm not going to the pre-show. I'm not, I don't need to go to the
What time are they advertising the main gates then in Las Vegas right now? What's the actual?
What time the main card starts at 3 o'clock.
So it'll be 6 East.
Yes. So the main card starts at 3 o'clock. I'll get to my seat probably 2:30. That kind of.
Honestly, that's a good. I'm not gonna lie. I personally like the 6 p.m. East start. Mm-hmm. For me, selfishly, because I'm an early riser, so I go to bed early. So this will be good, especially on a Sunday where I can hopefully get done by 10 o'clock.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if I was attending it where I had to like go to work the next day and it was on at 6 o'clock, gets out at like 9, and I'm driving from like a city out of town, that's good too. I definitely like that. I remember I went to the Royal Rumble, which was a 6 o'clock start in Indianapolis, and we get out at like 9:30 ish. You know what I mean? And still had time to like go hang out downtown a little bit before heading back to the thing. And there's definitely going to be a lot of time for me. I guess it just depends on how long each night is. I'm hoping we're at the 3 hour mark. I'm hoping it's over at 6 because I think 6 o'clock, obviously it takes a minute to get out of these places. So the earliest I could have dinner is 7.
You're thinking like you want to be done to like 9 East.
I want to be done. I want to be done. Well, I want to be done 7 o'clock local time. I want to be at a dinner spot at 7 o'clock because that's dinner time, right? If we're pushing now 8, 9 o'clock, to get out because, it's a 4-hour show. So it gets over at 7 o'clock local. I don't get to the restaurant to 8:15 to try to have dinner. That's a too late dinner, but obviously I'm going to be there at 2 o'clock. So that's too early for dinner. So it's that middle time where I can't have dinner before the show. And then I get out. It was very similar to when I went to SoFi Stadium, and that's not like Las Vegas. That's in Inglewood. So that's like, you got to drive, and that's far away from everything. And the show went, I think I got out of the show probably like 8 o'clock. Right. But by the time you get your car and you get out of traffic and you do all that stuff, I mean, I still just went right to my hotel and it was almost midnight. Like, it was just like kind of being on the East Coast, like in that sense.
Yeah, it's late. It's late.
Yeah, because you get out, like I said, hey, it's only 8 o'clock. We can go do something. But by the time I got out of the traffic and out of Inglewood and to drive 20, 30 minutes to LA or Hollywood where stuff is happening, it's 9, 10 o'clock already, and you're like, all right, let's just head to the hotel, So it might as well just been at nighttime because it doesn't make a difference.
Pretty much.
I will say, wrestling wise, going to events, I already know this is a busy week. I didn't pick for TNA Wrestling to come to Syracuse, New York this week, but they're coming to town here in Syracuse Tuesday and Wednesday. I'm not going to the Wednesday show, going to the Tuesday show. Thursday, I will be in Las Vegas by then. So I'll be waking up in Las Vegas on Thursday. Don't know if I'm going to a show on Wednesday. Guaranteed, I got to do something on Friday because that's the hot show day, right? That's where you got all the big, whether it's WWE show going on with the Hall of Fame or you got some other big shows going on. Then Saturday, Sunday, and Monday with WWE and going to Raw after WrestleMania. I haven't gone to Raw after WrestleMania since the Dallas one where Cody Rhodes came out, after WrestleMania.
When are you coming back into town then?
Tuesday. So, after Raw, actually. My plane leaves after Raw. So,
what do you got? Are you catching a red eye?
I am catching a red eye. So, Raw will be over right around, 7:30-ish. So, I'll have a lot of time to 7:30. I mean, my plane leaves at like 11. So, I have 4 hours after Raw's over.
That'll be good. So, the night one versus night two, which one are you more excited about?
Night one versus night two. I mean, I would have to say, I haven't really I know obviously the opening matches and things like that. I'm going to go night two. You got your main event in that one.
Me too. Femi and Brock Lesnar is what kind of like tipped the scales for me. I was like, whatever night has that one, because I felt like they were pretty even cards before Femi and Brock Lesnar from what we were seeing and how it was built. I'm like, whatever card gets, whatever shit night gets that match, to me is tipping the scales, and I'm with you. I think night two is the better one, slightly better.
Now, to talk overall, obviously we got 2-night WrestleMania. We got 7 matches on night 1, 6 matches on night number 2. I know we're recording this at the beginning of the week. There's still a few WWE shows to go. If you were to guess, anything getting added to any of these shows?
I mean, if they're going to add anything, it might be maybe more pre-show stuff, but I think this card's pretty set.
I mean, I don't think they're doing that. I'm here, and here's the thing. I am a fan of no matches on the pre-show because I don't know why people are so want matches on the pre-show so much. Like it's first off, if there isn't matches, you don't have to watch it. I think that's the thing people are thinking. Like, if I'm watching it for 3 hours, you got to have some matches. Well, don't then. I'm not watching it. Like, you don't have to watch it. It's just like the pre-show. I mean, think about it as a Super Bowl pregame show, right? There's no football during the Super Bowl pregame show.
Which means I don't watch.
Yeah, and that's fine. You don't have to have matches on it. Also, I think the main thing here, right, people are obviously forgetting is SmackDown the night before, and whether we like it or not, I don't, is an event, right? It costs money, right? And we know WWE prices, so somebody's paying $1,000 to get into that and to sit, down low ringside, right? You got to have matches for them. It's a 3-hour show. You're going to have stuff for them. So all these people are saying, throw the Andre the Giant Battle Royal on WrestleMania, throw the Women's Battle Royal, throw these other matches, the tag match between MFT and the Bloodline, or, MFT and the Wyatt family. Well, you have 3 hours of SmackDown to fill in Las Vegas. People who've flown there, so essentially it is WrestleMania. They call it WrestleMania SmackDown. Show.
That's what I say. You
got to. I mean, I agree. That's really what it should be. I mean, yeah. I get that WWE likes their money to have two different things. They thought, why are we letting Jared in for $50 to watch SmackDown and see Paul Heyman inducted when we can charge him?
It just doesn't make sense. I feel like we talk about this every single year. Like, they just don't do it. Like they
No,
need
and now the Hall
Friday
of
night
Fame's
needs
on
to
at
be
obviously a ridiculous time as well, right? It's on at 9 o'clock local, which is, be honest with you, that's late local, right? I mean, that's late to start, midnight Eastern. So
yeah,
it's
I won't be
not on an
watching.
ideal time for anybody.
I won't be watching. I mean, I'll probably do what I did like I did last year. I'll watch it when I'm eating breakfast the next day. I'll fast forward through the stuff I want to see, and what I don't want to see, I'll just get rid of.
I mean, it's crazy because I was watching it. I was watching it from my hotel last year, the Triple H induction, and I was watching it at like 1:30 a.m. local time. So what? Or not, it might have even been later, like 2 a.m. local time, and that's just crazy to think because everything is West Coast time, so everything's way earlier. So I mean, WrestleMania is 2 o'clock. Back then, Stand and Deliver was 9 in the morning. So you have a Stand and Deliver at 9 in the morning and a show going till 2 a.m. the night before, and I'm guessing some of that crowd was probably going to go from one to the other. They were joking with Shawn Michaels like, "Hey, aren't you supposed to be at T-Mobile Arena in like 2 hours?" kind of thing. Like that's ridiculous. It's not a good time for anybody. It's not. It's if it's late in Las Vegas, that means it's not even watchable in America or in the East Coast. I mean, I'm like, so it's just crazy to think that like SmackDown starts at like 4:30 local time, but then you still have something going till 2 a.m. Like that's just
It's
ridiculous.
stupid.
Imagine the Hall of Fame. Well, it starts at 9. I'm guessing it's going to go to at least midnight Las Vegas time. So, which is late because that's 3 a.m. right Eastern time. That's when it's just
No,
starting at midnight.
I'll be
Eastern.
watching it. I'll be watching it when I eat breakfast the next day.
I don't know why they can't just combine the two things, right? I don't. And what I mean combine, I think, and maybe you can attest to here, right? We have this internet world where people think that if you have if you like one thing, that means you don't like another thing, right? That means if you don't like 2 night WrestleMania, that means you like 7 hour WrestleMania, right? If you don't like the two separate Hall of Fame and SmackDown events, that means you like SmackDown for 3 hours, followed by 3 hours of a Hall of Fame on one show. No, that doesn't mean that. That doesn't mean I
Oh,
like sitting in an arena and watching 3 plus 3. We can do one or the other, right? I think SmackDown, right? The go home show to SmackDown, not necessarily needed, right? The USA Network still needs programming. Put the Hall of Fame on in the place. That's what I think, right? I don't think just because we have 2 night WrestleMania, if we didn't, we'd have 7 hour WrestleMania. We don't
you know
have.
what's funny? The Hall of Fame on the TV, like whether it's Netflix International or USA Network here, I bet you they'll get a better number if it was Hall of Fame versus a random SmackDown that nobody cares about.
Well, yeah. I mean, a good example is that if I don't go to SmackDown, I'm not watching SmackDown. I mean, in Las Vegas, the only people who are watching SmackDown in Las Vegas personally are going to be the ones attending it because everyone else is going to be at other wrestling shows. Or if I do go to the Hall of Fame this year, I haven't made that decision yet. I don't know what my Friday night will entail, but I know that I'm not going to SmackDown. That's a guarantee. I already know this year SmackDown's off the table. Last year I went to SmackDown, and that was because I thought early on when tickets went on sale, it would have the Hall of Fame included. It didn't. So I felt like even back then, if I had to pick or choose one, I would have went to the Hall of Fame. So I made kind of the wrong call, if you will. But it was too late. I already had the tickets. So yeah, I'm not going to even go to that. I'm not watching that SmackDown. I'm not going to go to that SmackDown. I know Busted Open's having a free party on Friday night that's going at the same time as SmackDown, so people will be there. Joey Janela's Spring Break is going on. I know a lot of people will be there. That's a big event. I know Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling with CMLL and I forget what other company, New Japan. They're doing like a multiverse show that's got a ton of big matches. That's going on at the same exact time. And yeah, and then people are just going to the Hall of Fame.
Those will draw better. I feel like when you have those like super shows, I feel like it's going to be a better matches because nobody cares about the SmackDown.
The Honor of the Giant Battle Royal has nothing going for
Hall of Fame, and that's it. That's easy. And like if they did that, they would actually do better. I feel like overall.
I think I agree. I think you would fill that space, and then the go home Raw in Sacramento would be the final show before WrestleMania. I think when you get to WrestleMania weekend, and I've always had this kind of thought, even before they had SmackDown, I always thought when you get to WrestleMania weekend, I'm fine with watching wrestling by other companies, but when it comes to like WWE guys, the build is done. We're there. I'm flown in. I've already got my WrestleMania program by the time SmackDown starts. I already know what WrestleMania matches are going to happen. You don't need to make any more. We don't need to build any more stories. We don't need to do any of that. We're here. It's already here. It's like the night before the Super Bowl, right? We don't have to play a game to decide who's playing in the Super Bowl or who should get, we're here. They've already flown here, right?
Induct on Friday and give us 2 nights of wrestling.
So we don't need we don't need SmackDown. We don't need the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. We don't need Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton to do one more thing. We don't need CM Punk to talk more.
It's
We don't need
all
Roman Reigns.
useless at this point.
Yeah, it is. It is that, and I think it gives more. Like I said, it gives more gusto to WrestleMania. Could you imagine? We haven't had this, I don't think, happen yet. But could you imagine somebody getting hurt during SmackDown who's on the WrestleMania card like the night later? Like that's just
A main event player potentially.
yeah. I mean, I know Roman is not going to be wrestling or nothing like that, but
no,
I mean,
but you never know. You know,
they might have some sort of 6-man tag on SmackDown that has the luchadors who are in the Intercontinental title match or something like that.
That could be
going
really
on.
screwy.
And I will tell you, we were just talking. I was asking if you thought about one more match. I would say if one more match was going to be added, I know they're doing this down in AAA, and I think it's probably going to happen down there. But I know we're going to get Mask versus the two El Grande Americanos. Maybe that could be Mania. I know that's happening sometime, but none of those guys are on the card right now.
I feel like they should just do it in AAA and be done with it.
I mean, that's probably where they're going to do it, but
it makes sense because in the AAA and in that culture specifically, the mask is like a sacred thing. I think it's a bigger deal in AAA than it is up here in WWE.
That's probably where they're going to do it. So that would be the only match I could see being added.
I think they're leaving it the way it is. I really do.
No, I mean, I would lean more on that. I would say one place we were wrong. What did you make of Rey Mysterio? Last minute addition to that Intercontinental title ladder match. I guess he's not as hurt after all.
No, I think he got cleared just in time, but too late to do something with Gunther. Apparently, that's the way I look at it, and I'm happy that we get to have Rey Mysterio because obviously having the greatest luchador of all time, doing his thing is always good to see. So I don't know how many more of these we're gonna have. So I'm gonna enjoy this moment with Rey. Plus, it's such a multi-faceted match, multi-competitor match, where he's protected, where he's not going to get blown up, so to speak, where he's not going to be gassed. Because if he is gassed, there's other guys that can carry the load for him. So, I mean, to me, it works out perfectly. I'm looking forward to it.
Before we get into talking about match for WrestleMania, the WrestleMania weekend itself, and to kind of put this into perspective, I brought this up on the show a couple weeks ago. 58, counting WrestleMania, Raw and SmackDown, of course, but 58 pro wrestling shows that include wrestling, not talking about podcasts, not talking about parties, not talking about, Gronk Mania, not talking about any of that, which there's like 20, 30 of those, but just shows that have wrestling on the card. There's 58 wrestling shows happening between tonight, which kicks it off with Midget Micromania in Las Vegas on a Monday, all the way till next Monday with Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania. 58 wrestling shows. And to kind of talk about, picking which one to go to. Some of the big ones I, want to kind of talk about really briefly, make a decision here. House of Glory has a big show on Thursday night where the Hardys will be taking on the Good Brothers. And also on that card, you got Brody King and Zilla Fatu. And Shotzi Blackheart's also on that card. Ricky Sosa and Bandito are also on that card as well. So some big names. Charles Mason, who's a big star in GCW, and he's in House of Glory here. He's on that card as well. So that's definitely one of the major cards to look out for. There's still Shotzi Blackheart's on 9 cards this weekend. And Paul Hauser, the famous actor, who loves his AEW and getting into wrestling. He's on a bunch of cards.
Stingray from Cobra Kai. Yes.
He's on a bunch of cards. Friday is where you get, I think, the cards where you're going to notice the most people. And it's kind of crazy. I had to adjust some of these cards because a little outside of WrestleMania, but the TNA AEW thing that was kind of going on that's made the news this past week about TNA pulling all their talent to face AEW talent in any shows independently, because there was a big MJF versus Nick Nemeth match scheduled coming up for a few months down the line, I think in May, that got pulled. And then WrestleMania, Ricochet was going to take on Leon Slater in one of these big shows. That isn't happening now. They're all still on the cards. They're just not facing each other. I think that's a WWE decision. Essentially, WWE saying, hey, TNA, if you want to work with us and be our partner in this, you can't have your talent facing AEW talent because your talent is essentially like our talent in our eyes. So that is essentially how that worked out. Another huge show that's ever big this year is, and it's big every year, Bloodsport 15. You're going to find Pete Dunne on that card. You're going to find Timothy Thatcher on that card. Obviously, you're going to find Josh Barnett. You're going to find Shayna Baszler versus Natty on that card. a little old WWE
Pretty
rivalry.
good. I like that.
Yeah, Zack Saber Jr. is on that card as well. That's a whole different animal right there. You know, it's like the shoot wrestling thing, if the Raw Underground style, if you will, back in the day. That is on Friday afternoon. On Friday night is where you start to be like, ooh, what show am I going to go to? Spring Break 10, Joey Janela is taking on Brody Lee Jr. Apparently, he's like can wrestle there instead of in New York because they started this feud in New York in Rochester of all places. But Joey Janela versus Brody Lee Jr. is going to happen. Sandman is going to have his final match ever. Last year it was Sabu, and then he passed away not far after.
That's not happening to Sandman, please.
Yeah, so Sandman's having his final match ever on this card, and then a big match that includes the tag team of Alex Prince and Jordan Oliver versus the Rascals. Of TNA and obviously AW time. They're on that card. Jack Perry is also on this card in a tag team match. Mance Warner and his wife Stephanie Dave Lander taking on Megan Payne and Unannounced. So we'll see who that is. The Sandman's facing the Invisible Man. I don't know if that's just a gimmick or if someone's really going to answer to that. So I don't necessarily know what that is. Yeah. So those are the big matches on that. But the big Maple Leaf wrestling show has the Rascals on that card in a 6-man tag. It also has Giselle Shaw in a match with Shotzi Blackheart in a big 4-way women's match. Jonathan Gresham is in a big match for the CML World Heavyweight Championship. And Paul Hauser, again mentioned, he's going against QT Marshall in a street fight. And then there is another 6-man tag that's got Rich Swann and Sidney Akeem, if you remember him from the male models back in the day, and teaming up with Mansoor, taking on Ricochet and his group. And also the Good Brothers are scheduled to have a match at that as well. There's another card I'm looking at that goes on later in the night. Brian Cage versus WWE ID star Jack Cardwell, or Cartwheel. Sorry, he's a WWE ID talent. He spent a lot of time in like the WWE ID and GCW. Gigolo Championship Wrestling's got a few different shows, but I will say one of their shows has quite the list of people who are scheduled to be at it. I think that's Saturday night after WrestleMania. It is, it's got like Jonathan Coachman. It's got like a ton of people. There's also the big, the Immortal Clusterfuck that they do every single year, which is their version of a Royal Rumble. That is happening after WrestleMania at like 11 o'clock. But Gigolo Championship Wrestling, yeah, they got Vampiro on this card. They got the Good Brothers on this card. Rob Van Dam is on this card. Matt Riddle and Nick Nemeth are going to be on this card. Looking at this card, I mean, those are some huge names right there. I mean, RVD, Nick Nemeth, the Good Brothers again, Jonathan Coachman, Mr. Kennedy / Mr. Anderson, Vince Russo is supposed to be there. Obviously, the Insane Clown Posse themselves. Nyla Rose are scheduled to be there. So James Storm is scheduled to be there. And Kerry Morton from the Rock and Roll Express. He's like, and Ricky Morton. They're like 70 years old. They're wrestling on this card. So just tons to do. If you weren't even going to WrestleMania, I mean, you could literally, there's like so many wrestling shows to go to. And I think there was even a super show. That wasn't even the show I was talking about that included Ricochet versus Leon Slater. Those two are going to be wrestling on the WrestleCon Memorial show, which I think is Friday afternoon or Thursday afternoon. But yeah, there's, like I said, 58 wrestling shows going on. Shotzi Blackheart, I know she's on like 9 or 10 of them. Zack Sabre Jr.'s on like 5 of them. Ricochet's on like 6 of them. The Good Brothers, I just mentioned, like they're going to be on even more than that. So there's just a ton of different wrestling shows that you can go to. Everybody and anybody who's in the world of wrestling is going to be there, which makes me a little... I picked to fly out Wednesday night based on price and getting out to Las Vegas sooner than later. But I can tell you, because TNA Wrestling is going to be here in Syracuse. They're currently here now. The Hardy Party is currently happening in Syracuse tonight, downtown Syracuse. And then there's 2 back-to-back shows. I kind of regret not flying out on Thursday morning, because I can tell you at 5:30 in the morning, if you're looking to meet some TNA wrestlers, the Hardy Boys, Moose, any of those guys, Thursday morning at the Syracuse airport, not a big airport, so not a lot of flights going out. So good chance if you're on a flight leaving at 5:30 in the morning, some of these people are going to be on your flight with you. And again, they're not getting on the WWE charter flight, right? So if I would have flown out Thursday morning, there is a great chance that there would be multiple TNA stars sitting next to me on my flight, leaving Syracuse to head, because like the Hardy Boys are scheduled to compete at like 3 p.m. on Thursday afternoon, and they're going to be here Wednesday night. So like, and there is no nearby airport. There is no like they're going to drive to New York City or like none of that. They're flying out of Syracuse on Thursday morning to fly to Las Vegas. So if you want to put your WrestleMania gear on and you want to really get in the mood to go to WrestleMania, I don't think there would be probably a better way to do it than literally leaving the airport that is going to have the largest conglomeration of wrestlers to one destination at the same time, because everyone's coming from everywhere. But with TNA holding shows here on Saturday, right? I imagine the Everett, Seattle, Washington airport might have a few people because they're coming from Dynamite on Wednesday night as well, going Thursday. But yeah, I can guess that the Hardy Boys or someone similar would be on my particular flight out of Syracuse heading to Las Vegas on Thursday morning. I'm guessing maybe even some might be on Wednesday night. We'll see. But it's just crazy to think, that Syracuse is getting its first television show in wrestling since the year 2000 when WCW Thunder came to town. And it's happening the night before.
2000.
Yes. And it's happening the night before. They're setting up right now as we speak. I actually work downtown, so tomorrow, actually, I'll still be in work here on Tuesday. And who knows who I'll be running into walking around town. Because, again, the whole roster's here. And it's not like a regular house show where they come in for the day and then they take off. They're here Tuesday and Wednesday. They're doing a whole month worth of tapings when they're here. So, because they're doing 2 shows on Tuesday and 2 shows on Wednesday, and the way I surmise this is the fact that they don't have another TV taping until the middle of May. So a month between TV tapings. So I'm guessing the next 4 weeks of TV are all being taped, and that's why they're not doing one night. They're doing 2 nights because they're doing like 4 shows in 2 nights. So they're going to be staying here, staying in the hotels. So not just going to wrestle, but then like staying in Syracuse and probably downtown and be walking around and things like that. So a lot of wrestlers are going to be, walking around Syracuse for the next couple of days. So it's going to feel like a little precursor, I guess, to WrestleMania. All right, so this weekend is the card. We've been talking, obviously, about WrestleMania and all the pomp and circumstances that go with it. But at the end of the day, it is a 2-night wrestling show. And quickly, because there's been a lot of stats out there and a lot of people trying to be like, this is that. The best stat I think that I could create when it comes to attendance, because obviously that's what everyone's talking about, is this WrestleMania will be the lowest attended WrestleMania ever below capacity. Okay. So we know capacity in 2020 was 0. We know capacity in 2021 was 25,000, right? Even though the stadium holds 80, right? The capacity is the capacity. And I'm saying available capacity, right? We can't talk behind the stage where seats are blacked off. I'm saying the amount of places where people could sit to watch wrestling legally versus how many people are actually there. So I think below capacity, this is going to be the biggest one. I think because we learned that last year, right? They can fit 63 in there for WrestleMania, and they're not getting 63 this year, right? So they're not doing that, right? So I think this is going to be the lowest below capacity WrestleMania ever. And on Saturday, that's my typical night because that was the one last year. I just give our YouTube audience a sneak preview, and Brandon, I'll give you a sneak preview as well of this year's attire. So we got the mask. If you can't pick up on it, this is Mrs. Foley's baby boy.
Yes, Mandible Claw style, baby.
Yes, Sacco and all will be making his appearance at WrestleMania this year, a Saturday night specifically. As we start with the card, and this year's obviously different because the first 2 matches on each night are going to be on ESPN or ESPN, ESPN2, however you want to put it. What do you make of the first 2 matches on each card being on WrestleMania, in the sense that I can tell that they're going to both be on ESPN? And they're going to be done by then. So we know for sure we're going to be 2 matches in by 7 o'clock Eastern time. Flat. What do you make of that kind of like strict timing for the first 2 nights of WrestleMania?
Makes me happy because I don't want to have a 5-hour show one night, 5-hour show the other night. I just don't want to see 5 hours. Like I'm, you and I agree with it. We're in that 3 hours and change ish, but no more than 4. Like it's got to be like I say like 3 hours and change is probably a good timeline. And I'm, looking at the card itself, are they really giving ESPN Obafemi and Brock Lesnar? Is that going to be?
I mean, they are. Yeah, they're giving them. That's going to kick off night number 2. And I guess what's strange is that's going to be a real short match. I mean, that's going to be under 5 minutes. So I guess my thing is they're going to put these 2 matches. So we're certain that 1 hour into the card, we will be no more than 2 matches done, meaning that the third match on each night will not start any earlier than 7 o'clock
Yeah.
Eastern time. I think it's going to be tight. It's not going to be like AEW with their pre-show blending into the pay-per-view kind of thing. I think they're going to make it tight where it's going to be these 2 matches and then commercial break to essentially send it off. If I was to guess, there's probably going to be enough commercials in there so that the actual like finishes of the match happen as time is expiring on those hours. Which is crazy because the first night I can understand. Those could have time, right? We got the Vision versus and I Show Speed versus the Usos and LA Knight. Who's going to win this? And do you like the use of any of these people? I would rather see the Vision and the Usos by themselves without the LA Knight and I Show Speed. I mean, I like LA Knight. I want him on the card. Just this is just one of those. I don't know. It doesn't feel mania to me. What about you?
No, it's just WWE working with ESPN to give them a I Show Speed, for example, somebody that has that's recognizable by the masses. Like he's obviously a huge influencer. He's a pretty good athlete from what I've seen too. So I mean, I'm kind of curious to see how that goes.
I agree with you last year from Broad Breaker. Yeah.
I mean, LA Knight's obviously he needs to be on the card. It's unfortunate that he's in this particular match to get him on the card, but at least he's on the card. And if I got to pick a winner in this match, I mean,
you got to go with the faces. We're on ESPN here, right?
I'm gonna go with the Usos. I got to go with the Usos. I think Usos and LA Knight. I think that'll be the winner. And then obviously the second match, Jacob Fatu and Drew McIntyre, I think is going to be the second match. So
now in this match, do you see a Bronson Reed or Braun Breaker return in this match?
No, I don't think so. I think they're both out indefinitely. I mean, obviously, I think Breaker's closer than Reed, but I don't foresee it. I could see Breaker back the Monday night after. I think he returns Raw after Mania. I think is the earliest. Bronson Reed, we have no idea because obviously he's going to be out for a very long time. So Braun Breaker will be back. I think Monday night Raw after Mania. Bronson Reed, I don't see him anytime soon.
It's crazy because it's not the 1 year anniversary, but essentially WrestleMania last year was supposed to have Kevin Owens and he was injured and could not be on the card. And we're 1 year later and we still don't have Kevin Owens back. And obviously, that could be a Big E situation. We don't know yet. But moving on to match number 2, Jacob Fatu, Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre lost his belt to Cody Rhodes to set this essentially up so that Cody Rhodes could be in the main event and Drew McIntyre could be back, in the spot where he, for some reason, is more interested in Jacob Fatu than he is the championship. Originally, people were saying a rumor that this was going to be Hell in a Cell, but at the end of the day, it's just an unsanctioned match. I mean, I'm interested in it. I mean, I think it's going to be entertaining nonetheless.
Yeah, no, it definitely is going to be an entertaining match. I mean, these two guys are, wrestlers that I really like. I enjoy what they bring to the table, and they've built this up pretty well, I think. So I think it's a good matchup. And it being unsanctioned, and obviously we've seen all the different things that they've done to each other leading up to this match. I'm curious to see what kind of spots are going to happen because we've seen Jacob Fatu up close and personal at GCW before. He'll do anything in a match, and I know Drew McIntyre. He's not afraid to do some things too. So I'm expecting some really crazy spots in that match.
Stephanie Vicaire, she is the women's world champion taking on the Royal Rumble winner. You kind of forget with all the time between the Rumble and WrestleMania, who won the Rumble to get where we are kind of thing, because you have both titles on the line and things like that in the men and the women's world. But it's Liv Morgan who won the Royal Rumble back in Riyadh to set this match up. I mean, you got to give it to Liv Morgan. I think she's going to win the championship, but I mean, it's tough to pick against Stephanie Vicaire.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. I really like Stephanie Vicaire. I love what she's doing. But it's Liv Morgan's title to lose at this point. I think she's going to get that title at Mania this weekend.
AJ Lee and Becky Lynch in the second women's match of the night for the Intercontinental Championship. I'm thinking, obviously, AJ Lee won it in Chicago. I'm guessing Becky Lynch gets it back here. I'm wondering if, I don't really know who would get involved, but this seems like one of those matches where, like we saw last year, right? With the Lyra Valkyria kind of getting, situation going on. And that kind of like involvement going on with Becky Lynch being making her return. I think that's what I'm thinking of. Becky Lynch making a return and then essentially turning.
Honestly, I don't see interferences. I don't see any interferences in this match. I feel like Becky is going to win the match. I don't want to say clean because I think Becky's still going to do something, some sort of shenanigans. But I do think Becky will get the win over AJ and take the title.
I did just see though that she's got her and Seth Rollins just came out with their own little. I don't know if it's an energy drink, but it's some sort of drink. It's their Prime, I guess you will, and it's going to be.
I think it's probably a coffee type thing because they're big coffee aficionados.
They're debuting it at WWE World, so if I decide to drop $60 to go into WWE World, I guess I could have a free sample of whatever they're doing.
Well, I think you should just for the audience, and if you like the coffee enough. If it is, I think it is coffee. I feel like it is. It's got to be some sort of coffee type thing because they like. I remember hearing Seth Rollins and Cesaro specifically going all over the place. Just they want to hit every coffee shop they can get in the world, and that's what they did.
I love a good cappuccino. I'm not a big coffee person. I love a good like espresso drink. So if it's just plain black coffee or like coffee,
did you just call it an espresso?
Yeah, and then espresso.
Yeah,
with no C.
Yeah, I got corrected on that a long time ago. I don't drink coffee.
Espresso.
Espresso. Yes,
okay,
espresso. My wife corrected me on that a long time ago. She's a coffee aficionado.
I think she's been listening to too much Sabrina Carpenter. That's probably where she got that from.
No, my wife is one of those people where she's got her own coffee bar at the house. So like I don't drink coffee, but she's like she loves coffee. So I'm curious. If you get the coffee, you gotta let me know if it's yay or nay, because maybe I'll buy it for my wife down the line.
It'll be on WWE Shop with JR's barbecue sauce.
Beautiful! I can't wait.
Another women's match. We got a third women's match in this card. It's the Fatal 4-Way Tag match for the women's tag belts. The Irresistible Forces in Nia Jax and Lash Legend, who are the champions, taking on Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss. Nice to see her on the card after her return at Royal Rumble last year. Alexa Bliss was not on the WrestleMania card. Bayley and Lyra Valkyria, and the return of the Bella Twins in full. Do you see? Do you see the Bella Twins winning the titles? I mean, going on a full-time run here?
No. I think the Irresistible Forces are going to retain.
Yeah, I mean, this is a perfect way for them to retain because, again, you got so many teams involved that they're going to obviously be feuding with each other, and that's where Nia Jax and they can slip in, the best. You don't have to have them win straight up. You can have them kind of slip in at the last minute. Seth Rollins heist of the century style. He didn't pin Brock Lesnar to win that, right? Brock Lesnar did the spear on Brock Lesnar, and then he did the curb stop on Roman Reigns. To win the title. So very similar, they all feud with each other. Then Lash Legend comes in at the last minute to get the pinfall. As we move to Seth Rollins and Gunther, this is the match we were talking about a little bit earlier about how Seth Rollins originally was supposed to maybe take on Braun Breaker, Gunther maybe to Rey Mysterio. We didn't know who was going to be healthy in time, so you had to put these two together because you can't have them off the card. I'm looking forward to this match, seeing how far Seth Rollins goes now that he's made his return. This will be his first official match back since injury. Yeah. And Gunther, is he still got something to prove that, like, if he lost at WrestleMania last year to open the show, but then had a great finish to the year with the Legends gimmick. So does this matter if Gunther loses, or does he still got to keep going from his John Cena retirement tour / AJ Styles retirement tour? Is this completely separate?
I think they just got to keep that train rolling with Gunther and just making him such a force. I mean, he rarely ever loses matches, whether it's title matches or just regular old singles matches like this one. I feel like Seth can take the L here, and it's not that big of a deal. I feel like Gunther needs to win more than Seth Rollins, in my opinion.
All right. The championship match has got all sorts of controversy, whether it's talk about ticket sales and why are you here? Are you this year's version of Travis Scott, right? Are you this year's version of, The Rock? We're talking about Pat McAfee, right? He made his return to WWE. A lot of people upset, not necessarily about the gimmick itself, but just Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton. It's a story that you got a lot there, right? Because you got you could bring in Ted DiBiase if you wanted to add in somebody to really add to this story, because it's a 20-year story in the making. And people are wondering where Pat McAfee fits in and why we needed Pat McAfee here at all, because, well, it's not necessarily necessary. But Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton with Pat McAfee nonetheless. I'm guessing Randy Orton wins this title against Cody Rhodes. He said if he loses, he won't go after Cody Rhodes again. I'm guessing he wins the title, and Cody Rhodes is leaving WrestleMania back-to-back years, coming in as champion and leaving not as champion.
Yeah, Randy's winning this match because here's what I think is going to eventually kind of happen here. I really feel like at Backlash, Pat's going to have a match. I feel like that's what's going to happen. I think
it's going to be a tag match. I think it's Cody and Jelly Roll versus Randy Orton and Pat McAfee.
That's what I think. So that's why I think Randy's going to be the champion, because the stipulation is if Orton loses, McAfee will leave the professional wrestling business for good. how is that for good if he's going to potentially be on the Backlash card coming up? So that's why Randy Orton, I think, wins.
Obviously, too, the fact that, they leave the red, like, he's not going to be on Raw ever again. I mean, WWE doesn't want to commit to anything like that. So, in case he's ever, available in the future to be a broadcaster or anything like that, WWE loved having him there, back in the day.
Ari Emanuel is positioning him as the next Sylvester Stallone. He's actually got him coming into Tulsa King, I believe, which is Stallone's show. So, watch out for Pat McAfee in the TV movie business in the near future, because I guess Ari Emanuel, which obviously he's one of the big shots that's part of TKO and all that whole deal, Endeavor and everything like that. He really loves Pat McAfee, is what the rumor and innuendo is. So they want to position Pat McAfee as like the next big star in the entertainment business. So this is his platform, and I think Pat's going to do a good job.
I will have to say, we were talking earlier about people very nostalgic for times that never really occurred, and maybe people are just dumb and I don't know, but I'm under the impression with, Pat McAfee or Two Night WrestleMania or anything that's related to any of this, that, the whole idea of, well, if Vince McMahon was here instead of TKO, like you're saying, things would be different. No, I mean, maybe the ticket prices wouldn't have gotten to where they got because Vince McMahon would have never gotten to that point. He would have just maybe had the steady incline in prices. But, when it comes to like people, when's Vince coming back to save WWE? Believe me, Pat McAfee was involved before. He'd be in like this card. There's nothing about this card itself that says if Vince was here, it would be different. Like, I think people have some sort of, nostalgia for a time that didn't exist. Remember, it's Vince McMahon who made Two Night WrestleMania. It was Vince McMahon who made WrestleMania 38 the most stupendous evening in WrestleMania and gave him like the dumb taglines for a lot of shows. The 25th anniversary of WrestleMania when it wasn't the 25th. So, Pat McAfee's involved to, help sell tickets. Sure. But would this be out of the realm of possibility for Vince McMahon? No, not at all. Maybe the advertising thing was, but one thing about Vince McMahon is that he always evolved. So I can't even say, when Michael Cole says that, there wouldn't be advertising on the ring if Vince McMahon was here. I can't necessarily say that. There wasn't, but, if he had the opportunity, I'm not saying he'd turn it down. I'm just saying,
I think Vince is a smart enough business person that he would evolve. I feel like, and he did evolve. He evolved, back in the Monday Night Wars, like 83 weeks with Eric Bischoff, like that. Like Eric Bischoff made WWE change because what they were doing was stale. So Vince can change if he really feels like he needs to.
Vince also wasn't above. I mean, just thinking about the COVID time specifically, because, we talk about money, right? The COVID time specifically, Vince McMahon would not turn any of those shows off, even WrestleMania, no matter what he had to do. So, like, the fact that, like, Vince McMahon was the only show going during COVID. And it's not because, everybody in the talent pool wanted to do it. It's because he wanted to make sure that the show went on so he could still fulfill those contractual obligations and make money, regardless of if Roman Reigns said, I'm in the main event, but I'm not showing up. Great, we'll go on without you. John Cena, I'm in the main event, but I'm only going to show up for a scripted, stage match. Cool, we'll have to do it that way. We're not going to stop the show. So I don't think Vince McMahon has ever shown that he's like, well, I'm not going to do that. I mean, the storylines he did with his own daughter and things like that. I'm just saying, never have I ever thought when I saw TKO do anything, whether it's even raising prices, I thought, well, Vince McMahon is just too nice and hearted of a man to ever do anything like that. Like, let's get real. I'm not saying he would do it, but I'm not saying any of this is out of the realm of possibility for him to do it. As we move to night 2 of WrestleMania, the 2 matches that'll kick off on ESPN proper in the United States are Obafemi and Brock Lesnar, and the 6-pack Intercontinental ladder match. Obafemi, Brock Lesnar. Who are you picking to win this? I'm taking it's Obafemi, because Brock Lesnar, he's one of those guys who talks a big game, but at the end of the day, they always put people over on him.
I think it's Obafemi. They're positioning Oba as the one of the faces of the next 10 years of WWE and WrestleManias and everything. So what better way to really start shooting him to the moon, so to speak, than, obviously they've built it up as much as they have and showed Oba to be this force. So why would you do that and stop all of his momentum by having Brock win? Brock knows what he needs to do. Brock, even, I don't know if you caught that when they're in the middle of that ring that first time and Brock was on the ground. Brock, if you read his lips, he told Oba, step on me. Like Brock is trying to put Oba really far over right now. He's trying to really get back to the business. So I think Oba's going to win this match, and I think he's going to win it in a way where Oba just looks like a freaking machine.
Over under the match length being 4 minutes.
I say over because they're going to dance around for a while.
All right. Okay. I mean,
I don't say it's going to be like, I'm not saying 20 minutes. I would say it'll be just under 10.
Okay. I'm guessing under 4 minutes, even with the dancing around. I'm guessing under 4 minutes. I know they got time to kill on ESPN, but I'm saying that, under 4 minutes or under.
I'll say safely, I'll say 7.5 minutes.
Because, I mean, at the end of the day, when you look at some WrestleMania matches, you look at some matches in general, you think matches were longer, and then you look at them and you're like, oh, that only went 9 minutes kind of thing.
I'm going to say 7.5. That's my number.
All right. So we move on to your kind of ladder match. We got Penta, Javion Evans. I know I always say that wrong.
Javon. It's Javon Evans.
Javon Evans. What? It's not Javion Evans?
No,
Javon
it's
Evans. Javon Evans.
Javon.
See, I think I'm correcting myself in the right way, and I'm doing it in the wrong way. It's not like, I mean, I watch this product every week, so audience at home, I know who these people are. I flub up at the last minute.
Definitely Javon, I promise.
Dragon Lee, JT McDonough, Rusev, and Rey Mysterio. I think this is going to be exciting. It's going to be remembering of like the ladder match I think that we had at SummerSlam last year. Not obviously with all these people involved, but I think we're going to have some fun spots, some like ladders being used as tables. I think we're going to have some of those kind of like power bombs where you do the flip, like the guys on the ladder and then you jump off another ladder, grab them and like do like a kind of like a flip power bomb.
Good spots, yes.
Yes. Who do you see leaving here as the Intercontinental Champion?
I'm going to go out on a limb and say Javon Evans. I think I really feel like they're positioning him to take the title and run with it because the kid's he's the young OG. He really is the young OG. Like he is wise beyond his years. And the things like they had this crazy stat like it was something Randy Orton did, and it was like, oh, Javon Evans wasn't even born yet. Like that's how young this kid is. Yeah. The future is bright for him, and I think this is a great platform for him to walk out of Mania as champion. It'll be a hell of a match, great spots. It's going to be a lot of fun.
The only women's match on the card for night number 2 is Jade Cargill coming in as champion against Rhea Ripley. She became the number 1 contender, obviously, at Elimination Chamber. So who do we see winning this? I'm taking the underdog. Actually, you know what? I'm going with Jade Cargill. I'm going with Jade Cargill this time. I was going to go Rhea Ripley, and then I decided to correct myself last minute because I went with Liv Morgan. Going with Jade Cargill. It's going to be a surprise, but I'm saying Jade retains.
Yeah, I think Jade's going to retain as well. It's going to be a great match. I just feel like Jade needs to keep that title for a while. I don't think Rhea needs it, so I'm gonna go with you on that. I think Jade's gonna win. Shocking.
Sami Zayn versus Trick Williams for the Men's United States Championship.
This is too easy.
You're taking Trick
Willie, baby. Trick Willie. Right.
I mean, it's crazy because Sami Zayn's been involved in a lot of these. I think it was a couple of years ago. He was in like that match with like the IC match with like Randy Orton at WrestleMania 40. He main evented night number 1 in WrestleMania 39 with Kevin Owens against the Usos. Last year, if I'm trying to think, who did Sami Zayn, what was he involved with last year? I feel like he was involved in some sort of Intercontinental Championship.
I'm not going to lie. I can't remember off the top of my head, to be honest.
Yes. He was involved in something last year, Sami Zayn. I forget though, but he's on the card, but he's always in something that like he seems like because he'll be like an Elimination Chamber. He was in the main event, but then like at WrestleMania, he's in one of like the more undercard matches.
Who are you picking in this match? Because I feel like it's Trick. I think it's a foregone conclusion. It's Trick Willie.
Yeah, I guess I'm gonna also be picking Trick Williams. I
mean that crowd's gonna pop for that song when that bass line hits, when that music hits.
Sami Zayn though could use it. I guess that's the best thing. Sami Zayn could use it because he's kind of becoming like a Miz, where he's just a mainstay. You know what I mean? And actually, looking at last year's card, Sami Zayn wasn't even on last year's card. So that answers that question for us.
That's why I didn't think of it. I couldn't think about it because he wasn't on there.
So I'm picking him. I'm picking Sami Zayn to retain. Trick Williams, again, he's the future. But again, I feel like Sami Zayn could maybe use this a little better to move forward. Because remember, wrestling's a 24-hour thing. We got to move on to Monday Night Raw and SmackDown after this. We can't just give everybody new belts and then what are we doing with everybody else? So Sami Zayn's my pick to retain. We're moving on to a match with no title on the line. Remember Dominic Mysterio? He had a bunch of titles. Right now, though, He's facing on Finn Balor, and Finn Balor has already been announced he's coming out as the Demon. I thought this would be better as a surprise, but it's going to be the Demon Finn Balor. Now, the Demon Finn Balor was undefeated until he lost at WrestleMania against Edge a couple years ago in Hell in a Cell. So who is leaving this match that's been years in the making between Finn Balor and Dominic Mysterio as the winner?
Oh, it's going to be the Demon Finn Balor. I think it's prime time for Finn Balor to finally get a big win. It's well long. It's like super long overdue. That's what I'm trying to say. It's well overdue. Dominic doesn't need the W. Take the L. Put a good match on. Finn needs the win. I think Finn gets the win.
I feel like overall he's been kind of cooling down lately, Dominic Mysterio. When it comes to that, not like his popularity and things like that. I just feel like he's been. I don't know if it's just he hasn't had as many matches on Raw.
It's going to be the ebbs and flows, I think.
I think just the idea that WrestleMania season is just so long. So to get to this match, it takes so long versus, like when he was going against John Cena for the IC title, there was a lot more fluid, right? He lost the title, then he won the title back, things like that. So a lot more fluid when it comes to him, like earlier in the late part of 2025, but 2026 early on, he's only just essentially had this as a storyline going forward. But we move to the main event of main events, night two's main event, which is the main event because after you leave after this match, there is no more WrestleMania to come back to. CM Punk is the champion. Roman Reigns, Monday Night Raw, they've been going at it week in and week out. I have to say, I've been enjoying their back and forth. I think we're at the point now where we don't need any more back and forth, but either way, I think it's going to be good. The old man, CM Punk, versus the tribal chief, Roman Reigns. Who's coming in? Who's getting booed? Who's getting cheered? Is anybody getting booed? Is anybody getting cheered?
I think CM Punk's going to get booed.
Okay.
That's what I think. I think that's where we're going.
Okay.
I think Roman's going to get the cheers, and I think Roman is leaving WrestleMania as champion.
Roman Reigns is leaving as champion. And are you okay with Roman Reigns similar to the past where maybe we don't see him every pay-per-view and every show?
That's fine. I'm okay with it because you know what? I mean, we've seen it with Brock Lesnar doing things in the past where he'd show up whenever. I'm okay with it. I've grown. It's come to grow on me a little bit with Roman Reigns because he's a special attraction, and putting the belt on him and then he shows up, in random cities at random times, I think is a cool thing.
Now, again, to kind of further any stories, do we see Seth Rollins get involved, cost CM Punk the title? Do we see Drew McIntyre get involved, cost CM Punk the title? Anything like that?
I don't think so. I think this match is going to be as clean as I think it can be. I think it's going to be down and dirty between these two guys, but I do think Roman's going to walk away. I don't think there's going to be any crazy shenanigans.
Paul Heyman come back to help Roman Reigns?
I don't think so. I think Paul's shifting his focus elsewhere right now.
Okay. The Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania, what do we got for surprises? Anybody coming out? Anybody new? Anybody returning from injury? What do you got?
Braun Breaker was the one I mentioned earlier. I think that's the foregone. What I'd like to see in the category of what I'd like to see, but I don't think it's going to happen. But if it does, I'm going to be super I'm going to be pumped. Is Kevin Owens? Like that'd be kind of cool. I don't know if that's happening. Maybe they're keeping things under wraps, but yeah, I think Braun Breaker. I think I wouldn't be surprised, but Kevin Owens would be a major surprise that I hope happens.
I'm thinking Joe Hendry coming on that side, and I'm gonna say Joe Hendry is a possibility, Ricky Saints is a possibility, and Blake Monroe I think are possibilities to come back out. It's crazy. Tiffany Stratton, she's getting the Alexa Bliss treatment, right? She came back at the Royal Rumble, but then she's not on this card, just like Alexa Bliss was at the Royal Rumble last year, then not on the card. So a lot of people not on the card, and it's crazy because they made their returns to essentially be as part of WrestleMania season. So it's weird when they come out at Royal Rumble to essentially be like, oh, it's for WrestleMania. That's why they're back. And then they're not part of WrestleMania. But either way, it's WrestleMania. It's the biggest show of the year, whether it's 50,000 or 20,000, whatever it is, all the stuff is going to stop being talked about this weekend. It's crazy to think because we're just going to have the show, whether it's tarps and ESPN, it looks bad on TV and things like that. I imagine, yes, it's not the best WrestleMania to have your ESPN debut on because you can't do the whole, shot like you would do maybe at in Philadelphia a couple years ago where you can show from a blimp, the place is completely full. You know what I mean? You're going to have to pick your camera angles the best you can. Imagine it's going to look really full. WWE does their best. I remember the COVID WrestleMania. They only had 25,000 there, but if you watch it on TV, it just looked like WrestleMania. You couldn't even tell, right? So they know what they're doing when it comes to that. And we'll see, what happens, obviously, the fallout of WrestleMania as we begin a new season of WWE.